How much longer does a Knoxville grandmother have to wait for a trench in her backyard to be filled in? Well, she has waited now for nearly 2 years. And consumer reporter Don Dare first told you about her situation last December. And tonight, he has a follow-up report. Don.
That's right, Elena. Linda Riddle never gave permission for her neighbor's landlord to dig in her backyard. In her backyard, an unlicensed plumber tied into Mrs. Riddle's newly installed sewer line. That was in February of 2024. Now that line is backed up in the neighbor's home and Mrs. Riddle's.
Linda Riddle is tired of seeing this big hole in her backyard. The 3.5-foot deep and nearly 40-foot long trench runs through the middle of her yard.
I still have my fence up. Temporary fence. Temporary.
The temporary orange safety fence has been a fixture for 21 months.
I can't even utilize it because it's all tore up. It's dangerous and it's hazardous to me and it's sickening.
As we first reported, the trench was dug while Mrs. Riddle was at work in early February of 2024. She says her neighbor's landlord had the job done without her approval. The city sewer runs alongside Linda's house, not in front of her place. The man who owns the rental house next door asked for an easement across Linda's yard to access the sewer because the old clay pipes at his yard had broken. Mrs. Riddle offered to let the neighbor and landlord run the sewer across the back of her yard, not through it.
She didn't give them permission. In fact, she expressly told them not to do it. She told them they could do it over there by that tree.
Bennett Hirschhorn, Linda's attorney, has taken her neighbor's landlord to court. In a lawsuit, Mrs. Riddle claims the landlord illegally trespassed and dug a trench on her property. She claims no permit was pulled to lay a sewer line and connect it to her line. She claims there is no sewer easement in the middle of her yard, and she claims the plumber who did the work was not licensed, but city codes require a license. And she wants to be compensated after her existing connection to the sewer system was severed. This pipe is called a sewer cleanout. It connects a home's plumbing system to the public sewer. The one in Mrs. Riddle's yard is new because her old line needed to be repaired. She hired a licensed plumber and took out a permit in November of 2023 to build a new connection in her yard.
It's just stressful. It's really stressful, the whole.
The city of Knoxville issued a stop work order in mid-February of this year. Codes says the connection was performed without proof of an easement across Mrs. Riddle's property, that the plumber who did the work was unlicensed, and the city says until there's a resolution, the work permit is denied. Then in the last few months, Mrs. Riddle's neighbor developed a problem with the shared sewer line, just as Mrs. Riddle's attorney had predicted.
We got a phone call from the other lawyer saying that all of a sudden their toilets aren't flushing anymore. So a week later, Ms. Riddle's toilet stops flushing. It's starting to gurgle, so she had to call a plumber. And because the trench is open, the sewer line's been sagging. And when you have a sag in a sewer line, the sewage stops up in the sag of the sewer line.
Have you ever had a case like this before?
I've never had a case where somebody just dug through the back of somebody's yard.
The unlicensed plumber who dug the trench just recently hired an attorney, and he has to catch up with the details. So the case scheduled for Chancery Court has been delayed yet again.
It's like a back and forth thing, like they're not responsible. Because I did not give permission to run through the middle of my yard and to hook up to my lateral. I just want back the use of my property put back the way it was.
Now, a new date to settle this long-running legal tussle has not yet been set. In Mrs. Riddle's case, when property disputes arise, they can sweep you into a whirlwind of complex legal procedures and jargon. Mrs. Riddle says she's learned a lot since her lawsuit was filed in February of last year and says she now understands the basics of property law, issues like easements and code regulations and permits. Mrs. Riddle's attorney contends their case could have been settled a long time ago, and he says it is not the court's fault. We'll let you know what happens next. Elena?
All right, Don, thank you for that update. And if you have a consumer problem and you think Don can help, send him an email at ddare@wate.com, or you can give him a call at 865-633-6923.